Hey guys, it's Core Ross and Rainbow Six News. So today we have the mid-season designer notes for Rainbow Six Siege. This goes over the balancing changes that are coming with the mid-season patch and also gives us a little glimpse about how all the operators are doing and maybe some teasers of what might change in the future. So let's start with the balancing graphs. We've got the attacker one here. This is looking quite interesting. Of course, they want to be down in that cross for as many operators as possible for kind of a nice balance range. We can see that we have some high flyers. So Ash and Zofia are up on the over 60% pick rate, with Ace doing really good. For a DLC operator, like these days, they usually do terrible. He's in there in the overpicked and too strong category. Now, he's not crazy or anything, but he's doing really good for a DLC operator these days. We can also see that Thatcher, IQ, and Sledge, along with Hibana, are also being picked quite a lot as well, but none of them with crazy win rates or anything like that. We can see that some operators are doing very badly. So, for instance, Glaz is doing terrible, and Fuse is also doing terrible. So we can see, obviously, if Fuse is getting a buff this time around, I guess they're trying to help him up a little bit. But of course, they're leaving Glaz down there. And I think that's because maybe they've not, probably not quite given up on Glaz, but he's just so hard to balance. It's like so easy to take him overpowered. And yeah, I bet it's a pain in the ass to actually balance out snipers in this game. Then we've also got a lot of underpicked operators. So in the under 10%, we've got Blitz, Ying, Nuke, Kali, Capital, Lion, Dokkaebi, Gridlock, Yana, and Finka. And of course, Gridlock is another operator getting a buff. So interesting to see those operators in there. And out of all the attackers, the one with the best win rate is Blackbeard. He is doing pretty good for win rate, but of course not being picked a huge amount. And then the most balanced operators look to be about Twitch, Maverick, and Thermite. Maybe Buck as well, although he is losing more games. And of course he did lose his frags, so that might be a reason why he's losing more games than winning them. And I remember the days when Sledge was the perfect operator, and he's pushing more and more up into the higher pick rates. And of course, him and Buck compete with each other. So I do wonder what they're going to do to either keep them differentiated or bring them more similar together, because they are using kind of similar kind of abilities in different ways. But obviously Buck lost his frags. And then let's take a look at defenders. So defenders are actually looking better than usual. Usually they're way more over the place. This actually doesn't look so bad. So of course our good old Jaeger is massive pick rate. He's over 90%. So that means if you go into, this is platinum and above. So if you enter a platinum or above game, pretty much every single round there's going to be a Jaeger. And yeah, that is a crazy amount of presence in the game. It's absolutely mental. But we can see that Valkyrie's doing very good. We can also see that Melusi's doing very good. Even with her very strong nerf right at the start of the season, she is still doing incredibly well. And again, that's another DLC character who's come into the overpicked too strong category. So that is very curious, again, with both these operators being much more powerful than usual for DLC ops. And yeah, I'm curious about what they might do to Melusi in the future if they want to adjust her, because I don't think she's too bad right now, but obviously looking at this graph, she does seem to be doing really good in those high levels. Then we've also got quite a good selection of balanced operators right in the middle there. There's a good clump of them. We've got quite a few obviously in the underpick category too, and under 10% there. So Castle's not doing well, Chanka's not doing well, but Chanka is going to get a full rework probably with this season. Then we've got Warden not doing good. Clash is actually doing better than Castle. That is surprising. And then we've got Frost not doing too well. Capcan this time is actually in the balanced area. He's winning as many games as he's losing up in those high ranks. And then operators that are actually winning games, it looks like Rook is doing quite well, but he's not getting picked much at all at these ranks. And then, of course, Melusi's doing pretty good. And the rest of them are kind of hovering around that 1% when we come to like Alibi, Maestro, Ella and stuff like that, and Valkyrie there. So kind of a curious one to look at. It actually looks very similar with both graphs. Normally, the Defender one looks more crazy. This actually looks like both of them are kind of similar, which might mean we're moving in the right direction for balancing. Then heading down here, we have ban rates. So this is always curious to see how the pick and ban system is going on. So it looks like Thatcher on attack is getting picked the most, along with Jackal. So even at Platinum, people do not like facing off against Jackal. and it seems to be that he's still considered to be quite a powerful operator, or at least enough of a nuisance that you're happy to use one of your bans to get rid of him. Then we've got Monty, Blackbeard, Ace, and Maverick, and then the rest start to tail off quite after that. Interesting to see Ace up there in quite a high ban rate. It's nothing crazy, but it shows that he's coming with a lot of power. And then moving on to defenders, we've got something that is very surprising for me at Platinum and above levels here. We've got Mira at the high level off the ban, which I am not surprised by. She is such a good tactical pick on a lot of maps and a lot of objectives, and I'm not surprised by that. But what I'm surprised by is Melusi being so close. That is insane how close she is on that ban rate to Mira. Like, obviously Melusi is good and she can be used in more objectives, but this is still, to me, pretty amazing to see her that high up. And then we've got Echo with a high ban rate as well. Now, of course, that again makes sense. It's a nice tactical one to do because a good Echo player can actually stop the diffuser going down. Then we've got Clash, Valkyrie, and it tails off after that. So I'm amazed to see Melusi so high up on that. And of course, she was really powerful when she was launched to begin with, but that did not last long. So it is amazing to see her be in such a high ban rate right off the bat for her first ever season. Quite insane. Then moving down to operator balancing. So I've done videos testing all this stuff on the test server, so if you want to go check that out, you can. But we'll hit this stuff quickly. We've got Fuse. He's getting 4 charges instead of 3. Now, they say that in most games, what happens is Fuse will set off 2 charges. And they think that that third charge that he doesn't set off is because maybe Fuse is holding that for a more useful plant. Maybe he doesn't get it off. And I would assume actually if you're setting off 2 charges, there's a good chance a roamer is going to come kill you. That's usually how it works out for me. So I would not be surprised if he's getting 2 down, managing to set them off, he's putting the third down and he's getting killed. So they're giving him 4 so that hopefully he'll actually be able to get maybe 3 down on average perhaps. But that's the whole idea. However, they do seem to hint here that they are looking to change him further to make him more useful in different ways. So at least that's how I kind of read into it. Because they say we are investigating several ways to look into increasing Fuse's presence and usefulness. So I think this is more of a little band-aid right now than, a full fix. I think one thing they could do is bring him down to maybe even 2 charges, but he can actually throw them and throw them on a wall like Ace does, and then sets them off, and maybe even can set them off at the same time for these 2 charges or something like that. But we'll see what they have planned for him in the future. But this looks like it's just a small change for the moment to see if they can get the Fuse players planting more charges. I think having 4 charges is a good change, but it does come with a major problem, which is when you're placing those charges down, you are completely vulnerable, and it means you're vulnerable for even longer because you're going to have to place 4 of them in total. Then they've got the changes to Gridlock here, where they've increased the deployment rate of the tracks, and this is a great little change. I think it's going to be really nice. They say that they don't expect much change in her pick rate or win rate based on this, but they're hoping it's going to make it a little bit more fun for the players of Gridlocks. And I could see this definitely being a good change for me. I play her a lot, and I think this is going to be very useful. So we'll see how it plays out, but they are not expecting a huge change when it comes to her actual balance in the general game. And then they've got Oryx. So Oryx kind of got a buff and a nerf. So he is able to dash through soft walls repeatedly without losing his charges off his dash, but his dash will recharge slower. It's going to be 12 seconds instead of 8. I actually feel like when playing the test server, the 12 seconds really isn't that bad. So I think overall, this is a great change for him. I do wonder if it's going to push him up enough. I don't feel like it's going to do it, but it'll be interesting to see either with next season's balancing or just from playing the game if we see more Oryx showing up. But like I say, if you want more in-depth on those actual balancing changes, I've got a video out that goes over all the changes and actually shows what they look like, because just reading the numbers here isn't quite enough to get an idea of how it works. Then we've got the balancing retrospective. So this is new. They're actually going back and talking about the previous mid-season balances and how they have then played out. So there's a lot of figures here, a lot of graphs, and they start with Amaru. And the biggest takeaway from looking at these graphs for me is the barricaded window percent went up a huge amount, but the actual fights from barricaded window inserts went only up a little bit. So it looks like she's going through far more windows, but not going immediately into fight, which is probably a good thing because then you can sneak in and take out the enemy. And that's kind of my feeling from this graph, but this one can be interpreted very differently. And they do kind of have a summary here saying Amaru has stabilized at a 10% pick rate at the top level of play with a positive win delta. So it looks like they have managed to improve her slightly, and definitely is not probably where they would like her to be, but she's more towards where they want her to be. That's kind of my feeling on this one. But there is a lot to read and take away from this, so if you want, there's going to be a link in the description, of course, to go and check out this entire thing and read through it. We've also then got Oryx. So Oryx got previously buffed by giving him the angled grip, but the developers say that actually for Oryx players, most of them, 59%, are still using the vertical grip. They haven't actually switched over to using the angled grip. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, they can do balancing changes, they can give different operators different things. It doesn't mean the player base is actually going to go and use them. So it is interesting to see that. And their summary is Oryx has improved win delta, moving from -3 to -0.2 at the top level of play, but we are still monitoring this. The size of data we have on him this season is relatively low. So his win delta has gone up a good chunk, but it sounds like not enough players are actually playing him for the developers to get really good data on if this is actually to do with the balancing changes, or it could just be that Oryx players are slowly getting better at playing Oryx. And then we've got Echo. As a result of the distortion effect changes, Echo players at both top ranked and casual level have seen a reduction in the percentage of kills they score on disorientated targets. So that's when they changed Echo's ability, that concussion effect, to basically be not as good as it was before, and they've seen that actually have an impact. And they also say that Echo players at the top level have experienced a solid win delta increase from 0.4% to 0.9%, while his pick rate and win delta for the casual population hasn't moved. Echo is banned much less at top ranked, from 68% to 38%. And then they say casual, but they then give ban numbers. So I assume what they mean by casual is like silver and golds, or maybe just the whole ranks underneath platinum or something like that. Obviously that's confusing because Quick Match was casual back in the day. They seem to be using it here as the lower levels of ranked, because they talk about ban rates with it going from 59% to 37%. And the addition of Melusi has probably had a direct effect on Echo's ban rate. And their summary is that Echo has a lower win delta at the top level of play and a slightly reduced presence compared to Season 2 of Year 5. Then they've got Callie. Now, of course, Callie, she got like a new SMG. She got some improvements to her gadget. She also got improvements to her sniper rifle. So overall, she had a lot of very small changes. None of them were huge. One of the major things that's really helpful is her gadget explodes quicker. So that's actually really probably the biggest impact. The rest of it is quite small, I think, anyway. And their summary is that Callie has experienced an increase in win delta from Season 2, moving from -1.6% to -0.6%. So it's a difference of 1% overall. Of course, that's a big player base. That is actually quite a big number, but it's not huge as well, with a similar presence of 8%. So overall, all those small changes to Callie have managed to improve her win delta, but her actual pick rate doesn't appear to have gone up, or at least her presence in game hasn't gone up. Now, of course, there's a lot of information here. I could probably make an hour-long video going over everything they say here, but I try to summarize it as best I can to make this into a digestible video. But let me know if I've missed anything, and also let me know your 2 cents in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you think they'll change next. And also, I think the mid-season has been quite timid when it changes this time around, which makes me wonder, are they holding back some big stuff for the next season launch? Or will the next season launch actually potentially just bring out a few other little changes apart from obviously maybe the Chanka rework? And while we're on the subject of reworks actually, who do you think is going to be the next operator to get reworked after Chanka? Because I assume there's going to be another one coming probably the season after? And who do you think right now is in that position who really, really needs it? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.